A couple of housekeeping things. First of all, I am Amy Pemble, but I am a host, a panelist, and the presenter today. Just because of the Passover holiday, I am completely flying solo. So don't be confused by the host name there, the panelist name, and that you don't necessarily see my name presented in the WebEx application. Please put your questions in the Q&A form. There are a couple different tools on my end, and if I'm flipping between them, we're all doomed here, basically. So if you could please try to put them in the Q&A form, I would appreciate that. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. So today's presentation is about what's new in the Summon in 360 and Intoda May 2024 release. Again, I am Amy Pemble. I am a product manager with the Discovery Services team. I am the product manager for CDI. I am the interim Summon product manager, and I still have Intoda and 360 services under my umbrella. And just as an aside, happy World Book Day to everyone. So let's go ahead and start about talking about what's new with Summon in 360 and Intoda. So I want to review the release calendar. I want to just touch on some of the recent work that we did in Summon, CDI, and 360, just to refresh your memory and or point out things that you may have not heard of if you weren't able to attend the last webinar or weren't able to get around to looking at the release notes or doc. Then we're going to highlight the Summon May release features as well as the 360 May release features and talk a little bit about the community engagement opportunities that are coming up. And of course, field your questions because those are usually when I learn the most and get stumped, and I hope I'm able to provide clarification. So we are 1/4 of the way through the 2024 release deployment. The next production release will be on May 1st. The preview release, as I hope everyone saw, came out on April 17th, which was last Wednesday. Our next quarterly release date for production is August 7th, with a preview release date of July 24th. And the final one for the year will come out in production on November 6th, with a preview release date of October 23rd. Again, Summon and 360 and Intoda have the same release dates unless we tell you otherwise. Summon maintenance releases occur on the first Wednesday of all other months that are not the quarterly release dates, and there are no preview environments for maintenance releases. Let's talk a little bit about what we delivered in Q1. We launched our LTI integration service. And in specific, we worked with the Canvas LMS to provide this integration. What I pointed out in the last webinar, and I hope folks get, is that LTI is a platform neutral standard that allows LMSs and third-party applications like Summon to communicate. So we started with Canvas. We're looking forward to getting more feedback back on how that integration worked, and we have in fact gotten some. But we can certainly extend it to other LMSs. It was just kind of a jumping off point, things that we heard from the community about where they wanted to start. We also released a notes search field in the advanced search in Summon. We turned on a auto enable quick links configuration option, and there's an asterisk there because that carries over into the May 1 release. And we released auto holdings management with Springer Nature for those folks using 360 and Intoda. That is a tremendous feature that takes some of the burden off of your electronic resource management team members, and the integration has gone very well. Is going smoothly every week, and we will look forward to onboarding additional providers this year. I've got outreach to several of them to get this going. So looking forward to May 1, we do have the auto enable quick links actually being activated. And we have a couple of great NERS projects. One is the ability to bulk export search results, and the second is displaying the full title on mouse over or hover. So the Auto-Enable Quick Links project is a way to get folks opting into Quick Links. And why do we want to do that? Quick links enable users to go directly to the full text with a single click, and they get to either a PDF or an HTML file. Quick links have a 99% linking accuracy rate, and that's to more than 1.5 billion records. We have more than 50 providers that are giving us that quick link access, and we're, of course, always working on bringing more on. We released the parameter in February and have been communicating about what that means and how to use it, but it will be activated on May 1st, so a week from tomorrow. And again, you can opt out of quick links at any point. You can do it before the release. You can do it after the release. We certainly hope that you give it a go if you haven't already, just to see how that works for your library and your users. Again, as a reminder, the configuration is in the Customizer Settings Search Results page, and it's called Auto Activate Quick Links May 2024. The default value is on. So this is one of those features where we are definitely jumping you into it, just because we feel very strongly that it's a tremendous feature and is very valuable to your customers. And if you currently have quick links on, you don't have to do anything with this particular parameter. If you do not want quick links turned on next Wednesday on May 1st, then you should change this value to off. If you do want it on and you don't already have quick links enabled, then just leave it as it is. That parameter will disappear from the customizer after the release. Our next NERS, or our next project that is brought to us from the NERS process is the ability to bulk export search results. And I want to point out that this is going to be in preview only for this release, and you're going to understand why in a few minutes. So this is not going to be going into production on May 1. The idea here is that we can email a full result set with one action. And in talking with users and the product working group, we kind of came to a use case that says, you know, as a researcher, I spent time honing my query to get desired results, and now I want to quickly export those results. Because of course, today within Summon, the ability to export results is a one-by-one activity. So this is a bulk action. It's efficient. It's one click. And allows you to get results outside of Summon. So that is a use case we started with. In the hearing what's going on with other communities like Primo, they have different use cases. So maybe we'll get to that point, but this is our baseline. And that's kind of why this is going to be in preview only for the time being, because we want to really flesh this out with you. But let me show you how we kind of came to this this process. Let me show you the process that got us here and how we were landing on the feature that you're going to see in preview now. So we had some very general requirements about it should be able to be turned on and off. So that leads us to a requirement of, you know, we need to add to Customizer or the admin console. The second was that there was some back and forth about what should the threshold of results be. Some folks thought it should be, you know, fairly low, and then a huge result set wasn't very useful to users. Others may think differently. Because we didn't have a good sense of where to cap that, and also because we didn't want to interfere with performance to begin with. We are setting the limit of exportable results to 1,000. We also heard that the exported fields should not necessarily be citation format specific. That may be desirable. I've already heard that in the feedback. But so we started with a very generalized field set that we use elsewhere in Summon, especially internally. So that sounded like a reasonable foundation for getting something out there to be for reactions. And lastly, we need to be able to import those results into a third-party application. We don't necessarily know what that is once those results leave Summon. So again, we're starting with the idea that we should the export format is CSV, and it's using that very generalized field set that we found elsewhere in Summon. So we have, a few requirements that match the use case that I presented a minute ago. And the big question now is this good enough? Is this going to work for our users and our researchers? And that's why we're putting it in preview mode so that you guys can see it and provide reaction to us. And bless you guys, you've already jumped on it. I've gotten a lot of great feedback. I've had to answer some questions, and that's tremendous. That gives us a sense of where we're going to go. So what does this look like in practice? Once you enable it in Admin Console, when you have a search that is 1,000 or fewer hits, you will see an export results button at the top of the page above the search results. And I just circled here the export results button, and also the fact that I did a search that had 27 results, and that's why I see it. If the result set is more than 1,000 hits, then that button doesn't appear. Once you hit the export results button, you are presented with a form. It has a header that says export an email CSV 27 results. You need to enter your email, an optional message. I did test this. The message doesn't actually have to be present. And one time you have to do a reCAPTCHA confirmation, but throughout the rest of the session, you do not need to. And then once you hit send, you get an email or a message that appears probably for 10 seconds in the UI that says export is in progress and may take some time to process. The amount of time that takes is going to depend on the size of the result set. 27 is almost instantly in my email account. 1,000 is going to be a little while longer. How do you set this up? Go into Customizer, Settings, Search Results, and there is a new parameter called Allow Download Search Results. The default is off. And if you want to turn it on, you hit Custom and turn it on, and that will make the Export Results button show up in your results. Given the 1,000 threshold. Again, this is going to be in preview only for right now because we're not sure that it's prime time ready. And in order to get us to prime time ready, we really want your feedback. And as I said, you've already begun giving it, and that's just tremendous. Do you think you'll be able to enable this in production? If not, why not? What do you need? And even if you figure that you can enable this, I've gotten some great, positive feedback too. I'm sorry, none of it has been negative, but I've gotten some, not critiques, but, oh, this is simple to use. Yeah, I like this. But what can be improved? Everything can always be improved, right? And everything is open to review. It could be the functionality. It could be the CSV format. It could be the help text. It could be labels. It can be the, what's in Customizer. It's all open to discussion. That does not mean that we will, incorporate absolutely every piece of feedback. Of course, there will be a triage. There will be prioritization. And just coming to a consensus about what is going to be best for this feature. We will iterate over that and provide feedback, or we will iterate over the feedback and then integrate it for the August release. The next NERS project that we have is display the full title on mouse over or hover. And this is really meant to provide clarity of the search results for smaller screens. So whether that's a mobile device, an iPad, you know, what have you. But if it's just a smaller screen resolution, smaller device, we want to be able to show to users what that full title is. I apologize for the resolution of this picture. It's actually really hard to get a screenshot of, or a good screenshot of a mouse over text. Moving into the 360 and Intoda release highlights. Not gonna lie, this was a great deal of maintenance that had to go into this release. We do have some linker improvements though that take place on the application side. That is Credo for Credo reference, APA Psych, and the Biblical Archaeological Society. We were able to attack a wide variety of issues that were reported to us and that we triaged with the support team. If you have not heard from the support team that something has been resolved, you may be hearing in the upcoming week. We did get important news from Crossref, which of course, we do enrichment of our metadata with. They are moving to a new API, and this is going to take some significant work on our part to be able to use it. It's not necessarily difficult. It's just a lot of changes, which of course means a lot of testing, because the metadata we get back does touch a lot of pieces of our system and a lot of our different 360 and Intoda applications. So that's something that we started and that we're going to probably be working on throughout the year. You don't need to worry about it or do anything special for it. I just want to make you aware that, you know, these things are going on in the background. And we also had some infrastructure issues to address. We had an OL8 migration, we had Log4j, and various other infrastructure technologies that we had to touch. That means that we likewise have to address our test automation and just make sure all of our downstream technologies are working together. We did have some hiccups with some time zone settings on servers. If you know, you know. Sometimes our servers weren't always set to Pacific time. So those kinds of things that came up during this quarter. Again, not necessarily anything you need to worry about, but just so that you know what's going on in the background. So I want to look forward to what's coming in the second half of 2024. We do have a lot of great stuff. So while we had some maintenance things happening in this past quarter, looking forward, you can see that we do have some really nice things coming up. The first thing that I wanted to point out was the new carousel widget for Summon, and that is actually what the screenshot is referencing. This is a widget that allows you to embed a search that brings back this visual carousel or visual showcase of search results that you can embed outside of Summon. So much like the LTI integration that you're kind of meeting users where they're at in a different application or a different context, you can put this in front of users in a different website, whether that be a university page, a professor's page, a portal. You can get this information to them and hopefully draw them into Summon and let them explore. Some of this example is new books on AI, certainly very interesting, but you could pull people in with a search that specifies, for example, some unique content you have, an institutional repository. So there's a lot of use cases for this carousel. It's just meant to expose Summon content in different discovery ecosystems. We have several NERDS projects sprinkled into this list. One of them is making the saved items folder permanent when you're authenticated. So moving from a temporary saved folder to permanently saving those items once you do authenticate into Summon. We want to improve our support for custom JavaScript and CSS. And this is going to be done by providing some tools in the admin console or customizer that make it easier to integrate JavaScript and CSS. We are looking to add ways to change the order of the content types on the left sidebar of the results page. Right now it's governed by the number of hits, but we are trying to investigate ways that we could possibly reorder those, reprioritize those. Another NERS project is opening the search within journal widget that appears in the summon interface or in the results list in a new browser tab. So instead of leaving the context of the original summon search and doing the search within journal in that same tab, we will now open a new browser tab for those users so that they can go back and forth between their original summon hits and what they found in the journal. We are going to, the next two are really about ease of use and accessibility. We want to allow users to access facets when they scroll down a results page. Right now, we do have the infinite scrolling, and as you keep scrolling down, you lose the context of facets. You can't see them without scrolling back up towards the top of the results list. So we're going to be looking at ways to keep those facets visible and therefore make them more usable and basically more prominent, and don't let users forget that they're there. For the infinite auto scroll, we are going to replace that with pagination. Again, this is for accessibility reasons, but also just because it's a pretty common discovery or search context, right? Folks are used to having pagination and not moving infinitely down a page. Based on feedback from users who have implemented the Canvas LTI integration, we will be making a few changes there. One that we hadn't expected, but all kind of looked at each other and said, yeah, that makes sense, is that libraries have multiple integrations with Canvas, and they need multiple setups. It might be for a different branch, a different discipline, a different campus, but so they need more than one. And as I said, we just said, yeah, that makes sense. So as those kinds of things come in, we will begin integrating those. And also I'm collecting feedback from users on prioritizing next integrations or integrations with the next LMSs. We can't do them all at once, but if there are some that are more used by libraries, which I'm pretty sure I know what they are, but it's, we're happy to hear about that, and we will be working towards that. The last three bullets have to do with CDI specifically, although they obviously impact summon. So we released normalized subject headings in 2023, and that was really about taking the billions and billions of subjects that we get from providers and publishers and libraries and putting an infrastructure or a framework around them so that they are deduplicated, consistent, make sense, are easier to understand when you see them in the subject facet. And of course, we mapped, our initial foray was mapping those subjects where possible to topical subject headings. So that's what's in production now, right? What we want to do now, what we heard from libraries when we released this to both Primo and Summon communities was, well, let's not stop at topical subject headings. We need some personal and geographic names in there as well. And since we have the infrastructure in now, we figured that was a good place to start in terms of how we address feedback about this big project. So we are going to be, I think it's going to be in the Q3 release where we'll be able to see personal and geographic names mapped onto subject headings. The Second to last improvement is going to be how we improve book review identification. We've found and we've heard that the rules that we employ for identifying book reviews aren't good enough. Too frequently, book reviews are appearing as articles, and that's misleading. Obviously, it affects the relevancy ranking. It affects filtering, or I should say, faceting, and it can provide frustration if a user is looking for an article and then ends up at a book review. So we are, as I said, we're refining the rules that we use internally when we do content ingestion in order to better pick out and specify that a particular resource is a book review. And lastly, we are doing the analysis to identify methods for distinguishing in-press content. And this could be ahead of, depending on the provider, they use different lingo, could be in-press, could be ahead of print, and there are a few others. So this is the case that a publisher has put out generally an article, but is not yet officially in print. It hasn't been assigned, for example, volume or issue number or pages, but the publisher does make it available on their platform. The issue is that when aggregators might likewise be citing that information, but the aggregator themselves can't provide access to it, and that often manifests when we try to do a link to that content, but we don't have, because the publisher doesn't yet have, that enumeration, chronology, date information that would allow us to link it. So this is kind of one of those difficult situations where, the content's available, but not in a certain place. And how do we know that? And how do we know when it's going to be available? So it's a tricky one, but we heard from NERS voting that this is important to look at and see what kind of help we can provide here. So that's what's coming in the second half. Pretty exciting new projects, actually, and we're looking forward to working on them. Lastly, before we get to Q&A, I want to talk about some upcoming events. We have a spectacular speaker in Dr. Noble, and she is doing a session on April 30th with us called New Challenges in DEI Technology and Libraries. I've actually attended one of her sessions, and she is just incredibly thoughtful and smart and forward-looking and strategic. I do encourage you to join that if you can. The next one is, of course, the annual eLuna meeting that's coming up May 14th through the 17th. We're going to be in Minneapolis. Woohoo! We have Developers Days beginning May 13th. We have Analytics Afternoon on May 14th. And then, of course, Knowledge Days, the 13th through the 14th. Registration is still open. You can check out the agenda. There's going to be some great speakers there. And it's, any of you who have attended eLuna know, it's a great time to talk to colleagues, have those kind of water cooler, so to speak, conversations. How did you, would you, oh, you're doing the same thing. If possible, if you're able to, it's a great resource. And I do look forward to seeing everyone there. Reach out to me if you'd like to get a coffee, or if you have an issue you'd like to discuss, if you just want to sit down and chat, I'm happy to do it. And that's what I wanted to share today. So with that, we can go to Q&A. Oops. Let me get to my chat. Okay, I see nothing in Q&A. Let me go to chat. Is the Dr. Noble presentation online, and is there a registration URL? Yes, there is, and there's a registration link in the slide that you will be able to access. I can send it out to you as well. Are there other questions? Switch back to Q&A. I have a question. Will the UI display bug with the permalink button be resolved in May 1 release? The case number is listed here. I do not know. I will have to follow up on that. Let me just jot that one down because I don't know if I have the chat after this. Okay, I've got another one popping up elsewhere. I have a question about the secondary content types. Are there plans to add primary research article to the list? That's something instructors ask students to find. I don't think that we have that plan right now, but let me look into that. That is something that I would definitely need to address on the CDI side. I don't think I've heard that request, but I could be wrong. Primary research article, okay. That's good feedback, thank you. Are there other questions or thoughts? Okay, if not, as always, I want to thank you for being our customers. You're a tremendous community. You're so fun to work with. I love getting your feedback, and I love getting your insights and expertise. The next thing is I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to join me. Please feel free to email me at the email you see here with any questions that you have, and I'll be happy to get back to you as quickly as I can. So again, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day and happy World Book Day, everyone. Take care. Bye.